Larry Levine, my good friend, good to see you today. Thanks for hopping on this quick call with me. I was thinking about something earlier today, and I've gone on record as saying that your prospects and your new potential customers are not looking for more friends. So you got to really come to a business prospect and with a business relationship in mind, and that means you have to bring business value. But you, at the same time, in your best-selling book, Selling from the Heart, and on your tremendous podcast, the Selling from the Heart podcast, really creative with the name there, Larry. I like that.
Oh, dude, you're so good. I appreciate it.
Well, you're coming at people in your audience with this idea of a relationship funnel, and then the relationship funnel leads to the business funnel. Here's the thing. You and I are aligned on this, but we seem to be saying it in different ways. And I know that I've got clients and you've got clients who think that that relationship funnel is filled by just trying to be nice to people, but not necessarily bringing a lot of value. And I don't know if everybody really appreciates the difference between filling a relationship funnel and actually bringing value to try to fill that funnel. So can you kind of explain what you mean by that and put it into different terms? And maybe we can, demonstrate to whoever's watching this that there's really a lot of similarity between what I'm saying and what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it because, I mean, you and I have always, I love the conversations that you and I have because, I mean, we're so much aligned, but yet there's some different philosophies there, which is cool. It's what makes us good friends around this. But here's the interesting thing is I've always been big into relationships because I think relationships do matter. It's what you bring to that relationship. And I'm not a big fan of, people don't always have to like me.
Right.
And especially in sales, people are always worrying about being liked. I just want to be respected and admired and saying, this is what I've brought to our business relationship. And I see it throughout, my travels. I'm sure you see it as well, is salespeople today, straight across the board. I don't care, young, tenured, old, doesn't matter. They're really struggling to how to really build effective relationships based on having a normal human conversation with somebody, based on the value that they bring, based on the acumen, based on insights, based on all these things that they bring to the table. We're struggling with it. So then what happens is we fall back to this. Let's build relationships based on how many times can I take you to lunch or drop presents off at your office or take you to golf or baseball games. Those are great things to do. I was so anti, and I spent 28 years in a really laggard, dysfunctional sales channel that I like making fun of, but it provided well for me and my family. But I can probably count, Jeff, on my hand and not use all my fingers. How many times that I actually took a client or a prospect out to lunch or a fancy dinner or a sporting event. It just wasn't me. I felt uncomfortable doing it because, you know what, if you're going to really build a relationship with somebody, it's going to be based on you getting to know them, what makes them tick. And if that person wants to do business with you because of all these other extracurricular activities, maybe it's not the right person for you.
Well, did you have a hard time hitting your number despite the fact that you didn't do that stuff?
No, never.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I came from an industry in medical devices where right after I started, the Department of Justice had something to say about all those expenditures and said, you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, everything that I thought I knew about selling, everything I thought I knew about expense accounts, everything I thought I knew about golf trips and restaurants and things like that, ball games, was thrown completely out the window, and I had to find another way. And in some respects, that jaded me against those people with the expense accounts. And I mean, I knew people who they had to use their expense account. It wasn't like, feel free to spend up to $2,500 a month. It was like, if you're not spending $2,500 a month, we're convinced you're not out there selling. And I think that kind of visibility, I think that kind of reputation hurts people's ability to sell because they forget that it's not about the round of golf. It's about the 5 hours with your prospect. It's not about the bottle of wine at dinner. It's about what are the conversations that you can have? What are the shared experiences that you can discuss? But what is that, I guess, eye-catching or ear-grabbing kind of opportunity? What kind of a discussion can you start with that opportunity? And then if you can have the discussions, do you need to, once you know what the discussions are, do you need to be on a golf course to have them? Or do you just find a really compelling way to get it across to your prospect that the time spent with you is going to be worthwhile? And if you make it about the golf, it's going to be about the golf. And then as soon as your competitor comes in with golf at a nicer place, now all of a sudden you've lost the leverage. You've lost the advantage. I learned really early on that you lose business the same way you get it. So,
Yep.
you know, I'll let you take off on that.
Oh, man. Yeah. You're going to get me fired up here in a second.
That's what I love to do, Larry.
Yeah. You just really keyed in on something, and I talk about it all the time. You know, everyone always says, depending on whatever, sales channel you operate in, you hear terms like it's a race to the bottom, right? It's all about price. It's all about price. It's all about price. Well, y'all make it about price. That's why it's about price.
We train our customers.
I know it's so interesting is I tell people that if you open up a conversation in a transactional manner, you're dead in the water. That whole entire relationship, as long as you have it, is going to be based on transactional conversations, transactional relationships. We can tie in the dinners and the sporting events and all that. But if you can open up a conversation, if you can build relationships in transformational ways by showing that you care, by showing you have compassion, by showing that you're really there to help and you really mean it, good things start to happen. And that's why I'm always talking about, in order to have a really healthy sales funnel, you must build a really healthy, meaningful, and credible relationship funnel. And that's what makes me nervous, Jeff, because if, I'm not this one who loves picking apart sales funnels and so forth. But if I'm working with salespeople and I start taking a look at their funnel and I start asking them, so tell me, Jeff, right? Of these 4 or 5 or, whatever the number is in that sales funnel, can you share with me how many people inside that funnel, right? Inside those organizations that you really know, that you know well. And all of a sudden, I'll go, I'm waiting. Tell me, right? Don't shoot the BS. How many people do you really know? Hello, right? And I go, that's why we're not effectively in the sales profession right now. I think relationship building skills have just been thrown out the window because we're in for the here and now, right? We're in a short period of time. What are you going to sell for me this month? What are you going to sell for me next month? And how's your quarter look? But I always say, depending on what sales that you're in, towards the latter part of my career, I was on major account. I was selling into Fortune 500 accounts. So they're dropping serious dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't look at somebody in the eye and extract money from them. And I'm keeping it simple, but I just could not face them if I didn't get the chance to get to know them. How can salespeople today expect a corporation to turn over their hard-earned dollars to you if you don't spend the time to get to know them, what makes them tick, what makes their company tick? And it's not over around a golf, and it's not over a baseball game, because I've had to sit there and do that. And I'm telling you, Jeff, if I take you to a baseball game, there's no way I'm talking to you, because I'm a baseball junkie and I'm going to watch the game. I'm not talking to you.
Right. No, I think the thing that's missed most often is that regardless of the situation, regardless of whether it's at a ball game or whether it's just in someone's office, right? There's another human being on the other end of that relationship. And you have to acknowledge that human being. You have to dig into what makes that person tick. And maybe you can dig into those things over a steak dinner. Maybe you can dig into those things at a wine tasting. You're in Central California. There's all kinds of wine to be tasted out there. I mean, it's great. I love.
I'm a snob majoric about it. So.
So you're not any fun to be around at all, right? But what's it really all about? And I think that's the takeaway. And that's always been your message with selling from the heart and not being an empty suit, is just, realize what it's all about and then take advantage of those opportunities. And I think that's the question that more salespeople need to ask themselves. Your content is really that's a very consistent message within your content. Mine is very similar in that message, but I take it from a different point of view. And I love the way our points of view really complement each other, Larry. And I mean, this video, I don't want this video to get too long, and we can certainly do more of it. But do you have a one-liner to kind of wrap this thing up with for everybody that's watching?
It's not a one-liner, but I'd like to bring some. I want to make it personal if I can, as opposed to a one-liner. And this is why I say, to me, relationships do matter. Is I want, I encourage people just to listen to me on this one and follow along. Is let's use our family dynamics as an example.
Hmm.
If you fail as a human being to build relationships with the people that you love, we know what's going to happen, whether you're boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, grandma, grandpa, cousins, nieces, nephews. We know what happens if you fail to do those. Your family dynamics are just going to, right? That you're going to struggle with it. So I'm going to ask people, think about that. Now think about you as in this, inside the world you live in sales. If you're not loving on your clients, I can promise you this, somebody else will come along and love on your clients.
Yep. Yep. The way your clients need to feel loved.
Right.
Yep.
And just imagine, and I just got done speaking at an event, and it was the first time my wife was there, and she actually saw me speak, but we were talking about relationships and all that because she heard the undertone of the whole event. And I asked my wife, I said, what would happen if I went 30 or 60 days without talking to you? And we live in the same house.
Right.
She goes, I really feel sorry for you because you probably wouldn't make it past the first day, right? That's what I want people to realize. You can't build relationships with people on a superficial level by whining and dining them and take them to things like that. Those are transactional relationships. If you really want to roll it up, you got to dig in. Like I said, you got to love on your clients, because if you don't love on your clients like you love your family, somebody else will come along and do it.